And welcome to Creator Weekly Live for November 26th, 2023. I'm Peggy Kay, and today there are updates for your Google account, YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Google's AI chatbot Bard, and more. Thank you so much for joining me. I will say, I hope you are having a great Thanksgiving holiday if you're in the US. And I'm really thankful for all of you who are here live and who watch the videos. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you're having a great weekend. All right, let's get started. The first thing I wanted to talk about is a really, really important update from Google. Google announced back in May that they would start deleting inactive Google accounts. What that means is that if you have not signed in to your Google account for 2 years or longer, Google's gonna just delete it. There are some exceptions. If you have purchases on your account, so you've purchased, for example, apps from the Google Play Store, that sort of thing. If you are using the account to manage a child account using Family Link, there are a couple other exceptions. They said that for now, they are not planning to delete accounts that have a YouTube channel with videos. That suggests to me that they probably will consider doing that in the future. I guess we'll see what happens. But what that means is that you can really not assume your old accounts are still going to be around if you haven't signed into them. And Google has sent out email notices saying that if you don't sign into this account, we're going to delete it. The problem with that, of course, is if you're not accessing the account and you haven't added a recovery email, you may not be seeing this notice. So what I'm suggesting is that this week, before deletions start, December 1st, take an assessment and think about whether you might have any old Google accounts that you want to save that might have a blog or a Google Drive or photos or anything that you might want to access in the future, and try to recover that account if you don't know how to sign in. I'm going to show there's a Help Center article. You can find a link to this either on my blog or in my weekly newsletter. If you want a link to those, they are in the description of the video. And let me just quickly call this up. This article is about how to avoid getting locked out of your Google account. And it says, if you can't sign in, you go to the account recovery page and answer the questions as best you can. Really, what I wanted to suggest is, if this is your situation where you can't sign into your Google account, what's recommended is that you try and use the same device and the same internet connection and the same location that you previously signed in. Now, that can be really difficult. If you haven't signed into the account for 5 years, it might be hard to recreate that, but do the best you can, because those are the kinds of signals Google looks for when it's trying to assess whether it's the actual account owner who's trying to access the account. So this week, make sure you can sign into all your accounts and add recovery options if you haven't done so already. Craig says, I've seen YouTube channels without a Google account. I'm not sure how that would work. Any account for YouTube that has been signed into since 2011, since January 2011, is linked to a Google account. So I would say the number of YouTube channels that are not linked to a Google account are vanishingly small relative to the total number of YouTube channels out there. And that means nobody signed in since before 2011. Now, it's true, if there are YouTube channels like that, they would probably be considered inactive, except for the fact that Google says they are not planning to delete accounts that have YouTube channels with videos at this time. So those accounts are probably safe. We'll see what happens in the future. So that's my soapbox for today. I hope none of you are affected. It is going to be kind of a sad thing for internet history, where there's a lot of blogger blogs, for example, associated with accounts where people can't sign in. There's probably photos being used in various places where those may disappear. I wanted to talk specifically about blogger blogs, where if there is an active account that is the administrator or author of the blog, deletion of another author account should not delete the blog, but it will remove all images posted by that author. So I think that's a likely scenario, that some people are going to discover that their blogs that had multiple authors, one of the author's accounts is deleted. Those images are deleted as well, which is unfortunate. So again, make sure you can sign in to your Google accounts and add recovery options. All right, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and look at a new experiment for Google's Bard AI chatbot. And Bard is getting smarter, you can say. Recently, they just updated how well Bard can understand YouTube videos. Now, I'm not sure how this works exactly. My guess is that it's using the automatically generated transcripts from these videos to understand them. So I don't think Bard is watching the videos, or whatever that might mean. If you want to use this, you should go into Google Bard, bard.google.com, and check the extensions. There's a bunch of extensions you can add for Google Maps, Google Workspace, which lets it access your Gmail, Drive, and Docs. But there is a YouTube extension, Discover and Learn from YouTube videos in your Bard conversations. And I will show you that in just a second. So this is the Bard extensions page. Again, you can access a bunch of extensions that expand the kind of content Bard looks at when it's generating an answer. So they want you to use it for travel. You can access flight information and hotel information. You can access Google Maps. You can access your own personal Gmail, Drive, and Docs. This is information that is private to you and is not shared with Bard at large. But what I want to talk about just briefly is enabling the YouTube extension. The YouTube extension, when turned on, lets Bard access information in YouTube accounts. So I just want to take 1 second to welcome everyone in the live chat. I see a lot of you here this morning, at least it's morning my time. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And I want to show you this new feature that Bard has for YouTube. I'm going to switch to a search I already did. This is the prompt I used for Bard. Says, I want a video showing how to make a pumpkin pie. So you can see that the answer is, here are some videos on YouTube showing how to make a pumpkin pie. It lists them, and you can see the videos embedded. And I'm going to continue this chat. And continuing the chat lets me refer to the previous chat. I'll say, how much sugar does the third recipe call for? So Bard is thinking. You can see it's looking at YouTube, and the third recipe was the third video on the list, which was how to turn a whole pumpkin into the best pumpkin pie. And it says, according to the video, the third recipe calls for 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar. So this is really useful when you can generate a response that Bard can pull information from. So you do a search for videos with information, and then you can ask questions about those videos. One of the things I will note, though, is sometimes when I tried this, I got an error that said, oh, I can't do that. Again, I suspect Bard is using transcripts of these videos, so if there isn't a transcript, it probably can't do that. Jolyn says, I like the way that Bard keeps my previous queries and I can pin those I don't want to use. Yes, that is a really, really useful feature that lets you remember this information and share it. So if you do an interesting search using Bard or generate interesting information, something you think someone else would find useful, you can share a link to that specific query. They can access it, they can continue the chat themselves. So that's really a cool update from Bard. And Google is working on this. It's not clear where Bard is going to go, how Google is going to integrate this maybe, but I could see this being integrated into YouTube itself someday. That would be really useful. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is just a really quick update for YouTube itself. And the update is to the content tab in YouTube Studio. If you make both shorts and videos, previously you would go onto the channel content tab and you would see a mixture of your long form videos and shorts. That made it harder to use the content tab to manage that and find a particular video. Now there is a separate shorts tab. So you go into YouTube Studio on desktop, click content on the left menu, and then you'll see your long form videos, shorts, live streams, posts, playlists, and podcasts. They all have their own tab. So that is a really nice small update from YouTube this week, just making it easier to manage your content. Thank you all for posting interesting things in the chat. See, Andrew says if you're a PE, you can use them as a canned response. Yeah. The trick is with Bard and any AI generated content, you have to really assess it carefully because often the details are wrong because it's not actually smart. It's a large language model. It's using some sort of probability about what the next result is. It can do a search and pull out information. Sometimes that context is incorrect, though. So before you use this as something in your life, double check that the information is correct. Another quick update, if you're on Twitch, they have a new Together for Good promotion. This is something that they are encouraging all streamers to participate in. It's linked to Giving Tuesday, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, where people are supposed to make charitable donations. So they're challenging every streamer to host a charity stream anytime between November 28th and December 3rd. Choose any nonprofit organization using Twitch's charity tool or Tiltify and include the Together for Good or charity hashtags. They'll be featuring some charity streams, and affiliates and partners on Twitch can use Twitch's charity tool to unlock a special offer for their community. Anyone who donates $5 or more will earn a special badge. So that's kind of a neat way to go into the holiday season where you're encouraging people to promote charitable giving. I kind of like that. And it's also nice that people who do donate may earn a badge that way that encourages people. So I think that's kind of a neat Twitch promotion that's going on. And the last big thing I wanted to talk about today is an update to Spotify. Now, Spotify, I'm sure some of you listen to Spotify. And you have to think about how artists make money now. They pay royalties to artists based on the number of streams. But the tricky thing is that there are some artists who are gaming the system. And so so Spotify is trying to prevent people from gaming their royalty system. The idea being that there are a total number of royalties that they distribute, and anyone who's gaming the system to get more royalties takes royalties away from other artists. So what they are doing is updating their policies, first against artificial streaming, and I assume that's artificially generated stream content. And their new take is going to be that they will start charging labels and distributors per track when there's flagrant artificial streaming detected in the content, which seems like it would be a good way to encourage these labels and distributors to vet their content. A second update may be a little bit more controversial. What they're saying is that there's a huge number of live streams that have only been, a huge number of music streams. I have live streams on the brain. So there's a huge number of music streams that have only been streamed less than 1,000 times. These tracks generate about 3 cents per month. And because there's a minimum amount to withdraw, a lot of these accounts may never actually earn enough to be paid. Individually, it's not a lot of money. In aggregate, because there's so many of these, it's a lot of money. So they say that what they're going to do is, if streams have not reached 1,000 plays in the previous year, they're not going to be eligible for royalties at all. Again, I think this may be controversial, but it kind of does make some sense. This money is being allotted to millions of channels. It will never be paid out. And so instead of doing that, the money stays in the main royalty pool and gets distributed to artists whose tracks are getting a lot more streams. And finally, this is something I wouldn't have even thought of, but there are tracks on Spotify that has what they categorize as noise, nature sounds, that sort of thing. They say that most tracks of music are several minutes long, but these noise, nature sounds tracks are sometimes very short, only 30 seconds, and they're made into a playlist where basically the same track gets played over and over again because it's only 30 seconds long. Because the royalties are paid per stream, that increases the amount of royalties these tracks get because they are artificially short. So what they're going to do is require tracks to be at least 2 minutes long. So this includes nature sounds, white noise, sound effects, non-spoken ASMR, and silence recordings. Yeah, I don't know why you would go to Spotify to have a silence track, but it's apparently a thing. Um, yes, I see over in the chat you guys are talking about making some noise on Twitter X. There's, of course, changes happening on Twitter X that I'm not going to talk about because I don't even know what's going on over there. The other thing I'm going to briefly mention but not talk about is, if you're interested in AI, OpenAI had a lot of drama over the past week where they had their CEO fired, and then there was an interim CEO, and then another CEO, and then back to the original CEO. And there's apparently some sort of power struggle going on between the people who think that AI is going to kill us all and others who think we need to accelerate and quickly develop more technology to improve the world. I don't even understand it all, and it sounds kind of crazy to me, these discussions. So it's not clear what's going to happen on OpenAI. Jolyn says, I don't think anyone at Twitter knows what's going on. I think that's part of the problem for sure. Twitter has CEO, Linda Yaccarino, who says a lot of things, but she doesn't actually seem to be in charge. So it's all up to Elon's whim. The good thing I did read is that they are probably going to add article titles back. If you share a link on X, Twitter, usually what happens is that any image from that article gets retrieved. Previously, it would also show the title of that article and then it was decreed that there shouldn't be any titles, just the picture. The problem with that, of course, is that there's no context. So you share an article, there's a big picture. Usually people don't know what the article's about. So you see a lot of weird out of context posts over there. That's probably why the titles are being added back. Okay, one more quick thing before I let you all go is this is a Google update, which is really kind of fun, where Google Meet has a new feature where you can turn it on, have it detect when you raise your hand, and then it raises the hand in the meeting. I think it's kind of neat. It's still rolling out. It's only available to Google Workspace accounts, including Google Workspace Individual. And it's off by default. You'll have to turn it on in the settings. But this seems like a kind of nice way. Instead of having to click the button to raise your hand, you can just wave it. I haven't actually tried it myself, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it will be useful, fun. I don't know, more hand gestures. So those are the main updates for this week. Thank you so much for joining me live today. I will see you all next Sunday, which is December already. I can't even believe that. Again, have a great week, and I will see you next time.